Hi, Nigel here with the Drivewire, and I have the 2022 Cadillac XT6, which I drove 2 years ago when it first launched. Came away pretty impressed. I thought it was a pretty good effort from Cadillac for a three-row luxury SUV, even though they were slightly late to the party. Now, there's a lot of competition out there. Good news about this car is it's kind of nice in its sort of old school way. It rides beautifully. It's got lots of space. There's a couple of downsides, but we'll get into them a little bit later. Now, the competition at the top end comes from Audi's Q7, BMW's X7. They both have turbocharged engines. They're a little quicker than this. They're also more expensive. They start around 74, whereas this one starts around 48 and some change, which is good. Now, this particular car has a base price of $58,595 because it is the middle choice. There's a sport that sits above it. This is the premium luxury. This particular car with the options, which you can go completely nuts checking, is a little over $70,000. That's because they spec'd it with the night vision. That's $2,000. The technology package. It's got the super soft semi-aniline seat package with a whole bunch of bells and whistles for another $5,000. So there's a lot of options, close to $12,000 worth of options on this, and including destination, as I said, it's going to be around $71,000. Let's take a look around it. It's got the Cadillac look from the front. Obviously, your Cadillac badge. It's got a pretty big grille, but it's not quite as in your face as the Lexus. It's got some air intakes here for the radiators, and then right here, these really nice slimline LED headlights. But the piece that I like the best is this vertical light strip down here. The piece I like the worst is this fake looking air intake, which is it's just unnecessary. I don't know why they do it. But other than that, I think the front looks nice. It's not too aggressive. It definitely says it's a Cadillac. It's angular. They've done a pretty good job. So viewed from the side, it looks like pretty much every SUV on the market today. It's square, it's boxy, but it's fairly angular. I like these creases in the side here, and then XT6, this sort of chrome strip along the side, gives it a little bit of a cool look. Now, as I said, there's three flavors of this one. The premium, this one comes with the 20-inch wheels, all-season tires. If you go up to the sport, you get the 21-inch with the slightly larger tire combo, because it's a sport, of course. So because it's a three-row, you only get about 12.1 cubic feet of space right here, which is a little bit less than some of its competitors, but you do get this nice little cubby space right here on the left-hand side for assorted items. Under here, you get this little storage space right here with this plastic little cover, which once you pull it out, you get a spare wheel. And one thing I do like is this lid, because it holds up, it doesn't fall back. Put it in different positions. I like what they've done there. All right, so being a premium luxury vehicle, there is no manual labor required to put these seats down. There's an array of buttons here on the right-hand side. So simply touch these two, and those two go down. I already had the headrests down, but normally they would flick down. So once you've got these seats down, you get about 43 cubic feet of space. Now, this one's got the captain's chairs option, which I actually prefer than a bench, although when you put dogs in the back, they tend to walk through. So if you want to put these seats down, you just hit these two buttons right here. They go down with quite a force. Make sure no children or animals are in the way when you do that. Now, you've got to make sure that you've got the two seats at the front far enough forward, otherwise the headrests will hit on there. The bad news is those two do require manual adjustment to get them back where they were. Like this, and like this. And then the rear two can be operated with these two buttons right here. They line up nicely, and you can pull the headrests back up again. Just like that. With all the seats down, you get about 78 cubic feet of space. It's pretty generous, it's pretty large. So this, in my opinion, is where it is somewhat let down. It's a 6-cylinder, 3.6 liter with 310 horsepower, but it's naturally aspirated, so it only has 271 foot-pounds of torque, which doesn't kick in really low down. So the good news is the 9-speed automatic transmission does a pretty good job of keeping you in the right rev band, but it's not ideal. This car should have a turbocharged engine. Cadillac, you need to put a turbocharged engine in this car, even if it's only the sport model, which is the top end one. Now, getting in the back is actually, there's two ways to do it. You can walk through the middle of the two chairs, which is probably what I would prefer to do, or you can pull this lever right here, which pulls the entire seat forward. And then you can get yourself secured into the back. It's not too bad. These seats are okay comfortable. They got the semi-aniline leather, which I mentioned earlier. You get a cup holder, you get a USB-C, you got your own vents, which is fairly typical. You can't really get your feet underneath here, and your legs typically are quite high, but they aren't bad. I could definitely spend a little bit of time, maybe 5 minutes in the back of these seats, but again, mostly for kids. So life in the second row is significantly better. These are actually some of the nicer seats that I've sat in, and you get your little armrest here, you get a little control so you can recline a little bit, and I could see myself spending a decent amount of time in the back on a long journey. There's room to get your feet somewhat under the seat. The headroom is pretty decent as well, and you get a little bit of power down here, USB-C and a one regular USB, and then you've got your HVAC controls in the middle. They've done a nice job. This one comes with the sort of Alcantara suede headliner. Air vents are in the roof, which is nice. It's actually a nice place to be. And these have got a little bit of lumbar support as well. Not bad for a long journey. All right, so here we are in the front of the XT6, and it's pretty good. Super comfortable, pretty luxurious, not quite up to the quality you would get in, say, an Audi, but Cadillac are pretty close to getting there. The quality of the materials is generally pretty solid. These seats are really nice and comfortable, not super soft, but they're not too hard. Plenty of bolstering in the side for the driver, and then obviously multi-way power, very good lumbar support in these. They hit in the right spots. Wheel telescopes, also goes up and down. Easy to get a really comfortable driving position in this vehicle. Cadillac's Q system is pretty good. On the left-hand side here, you'll see there's a park assist system. Now, I did try the park assist the other day, and it works unless there's a speed bump behind the wheel, and the whole thing just goes nuts and says stop. So I ignored that. Stop, start. Always turn that off because it's annoying, and then it's pretty easy, it's fast. You've got your audio, you can go into the home button, you can set up Apple CarPlay. It's got everything you would expect of one of these types of systems. I kind of wish that the actual size of the screen was a little bigger, but hey, you can't get everything. Directly below the infotainment screen is the HVAC control. You've got heated and cooled seats. One thing I really don't like about this particular car, and some other cars do this too, is they suddenly decide for you, hey, it's hot in the car, so I'm going to put the cooled seats on when you don't want them. I wish you just left them off unless you turned them on. Then when you turn them on, they stay on when you restart the car, but they go back and they reset themselves and then decide to put the cooled seats on for whatever reason. So it's kind of annoying. I wish they wouldn't do that. The rest of the controls are super easy to use. Below that, there's a little cubby. It's perfect for a mask. And then here in the center area, you've got this sort of sliding cover for the cup holders. Looks nice and neat and tidy once that is done. And then as a backup to the touchscreen, you've got these physical buttons and this little sort of mouse-like controller where you can go directly to phone, directions, music, back, and change channels, and your volume button. So it's all pretty easy. And this one does have a wireless charger, and lo and behold, it A, works through my case, which is a plus, and B, it'll fit a pretty large phone. So I'm happy about that. And then right next to there, you've got some storage space with a couple of USBs, and then this little tray that comes out. So you can put various different odds and ends in there. And then head of the driver, it's a pretty standard driver display. Revs on the left, fuel, speed, etc. I have speed set to the middle. Now currently there's a few different modes. If you press the button here, you can go into Sport, Off-Road, Tour, which is standard, and then you'll notice that the front or two-wheel drive button flashes in the top left there. Then go back into all-wheel drive. I've done all-wheel drive and all-wheel drive sport. Sport doesn't really do a lot for this car. As I said, I think it needs a little bit more power. And of course you can toggle through various different menus, averaging 16.5 miles to the gallon. That's including some pretty hard driving, how far we've gone. So you can scroll through this info page. There's a couple of blank pages in here. This is your all-wheel drive system. Now it will go off-road. We haven't really tested off-road. There's some driver assistance on this. It doesn't have Super Cruise, unfortunately. It does have, and I can scroll through, night vision system. Clearly it only works when it's dark. I've tried it. I don't know if I like it that much. It's not really very useful in town because a lot of street lights and other lights in the way, but I think if you're on a 2-lane highway, I would probably use it. But for $2,000, it's a big ask. All right, so let's go take it for a drive. I'm going to put it in mode, sport mode. If you leave it in tour mode, it stays in front-wheel drive. Scrabbles a little bit for grip, so all-wheel drive is the better way to go. So off we go. It feels pretty quick. I mean, 0 to 60 is around 6.5 seconds. It struggles obviously a little bit more than the XT5 did because it's heavier. That's what happens. That's why this one needs a turbocharged engine. But anyway, once you are on the move, it's not bad. Steering feels pretty good. The brakes are excellent. Remember, it is an SUV and it's not meant to be a canyon carver, but it's decently impressive. Now, what's the most impressive thing, even when you're in sport mode, the damping control and the suspension is so smooth. You've got to hit a really hard, nasty piece of pavement to really feel anything, and helped by the fact that these seats are super comfortable. Definitely long trip comfort in this car. Now, the engine itself inside the cabin is not really heard that much. It's quite quiet. That is until you exercise your right foot somewhat. So what don't I like? Well, the accelerator pedal is just a really long travel, so that's annoying. That's a problem right there. It just means that if you really want to flog this thing, you have to put the seat further forward than normal to be able to extract every ounce of power out of this car. It's not too bad. It's pretty composed in the turns. The steering feels pretty good. It feels a little bit heavier in sport mode than it does in tour mode, but to be honest, if you wanted something with a bit more of a sporty characteristics, you might as well buy the sport model. And as long as you keep the engine on the boil in the right rev range, you can get a decent hurry on. The thing about it is, though, it doesn't want to. It doesn't really want to be driven at 8/10ths. It just wants to be wafted along like we're going along right now, and that's a shame. I think it could have injected a little bit more sporty behavior into this, but it is slightly let down by an underpowered engine. Now, true, the Kia Hyundai twins, they both have naturally aspirated engines too. I would steer clear of those just because of that. All right, let's give it the beans and see how it does. Turn-in's pretty good. It doesn't feel like, unless you get right on the edge, it's going to understeer. This is a decently technical piece of road. Dips, curves. Now you'll start hearing that engine noise kick in. There you go. Good news is it revs to 7,000 RPM, which is nice. You're not going to really see that in many turbocharged vehicles. And I've driven it on the freeway, and yeah, it's super relaxing. It's really nice, and it's got power when you need it. What is its level of spiciness? And that's all about, for me, not just practicality, because it wins on that. It's a supremely practical car. But is it entertaining to drive? I'm moderately entertained right now. We'll do a quick launch, see how well it gets off the line. Actually, being a non-turbocharged car, clearly there wouldn't be any turbo lag, so that's always good. Alright, so we stop here and then stomp on it. So there's a bit of a delay. I could have held it on the brake a little bit and done a proper launch, but I didn't, so yeah, not too bad. I'm definitely believing that 6.5 seconds to 60 is doable in this car. Unfortunately, the Audi Q7 is going to do it, you know, quicker than that. And it's 30 to 50 and 50 to 70 times are going to be quicker than this too, just because it has more torque. This 9-speed automatic transmission though is very good. It's something that Chevy has learned to program actually really well. So far I'm fairly impressed. It is a very comfortable place to be, and I don't think I'd be driving balls out like this in this car for very long, basically because if I look at my average fuel economy over 114 miles has been 13.9 miles to the gallon, and that is not very good. So now it does take regular unleaded, which is a plus, but still 13.9 miles to the gallon, that's not a happy amount. So given a lighter foot, it would be into the 20s. So what do we think? Well, when viewed on its own, forgetting about competitors, this is actually a really nice car. It's got good driving dynamics, it's nice interior, it's got plenty of cargo room, it's quiet, unless you flog it to death. For the most part, it's super comfortable, and I think I like it. The problem is that you got a lot of competitors that are considerably better. It's definitely worth a look, it's definitely worth a test drive. And then for a positive, as long as you don't check the option boxes like a crazy person, you end up with a Cadillac in your drive as opposed to something else. But what's under there is the biggest problem here. Cadillac needs to put a twin-turbo V6 in this and give it some liveliness that it deserves. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, let me know your comments. We'll see you next time.